Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
This season on The Dream.
Supplies are being provided by nurses who run out in the middle of the night and purchase diapers, but a hospital is still charging as if they still have these items.
We are digging into every topic we've ever wanted to cover on this show.
It's a spinning plate analogy. The second that you stop spinning those plates, that crashes. So you can never stop working.
The Dream Season 4 comes at you weekly starting Monday, January 20th.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm Brooke Brigham, and I'm the attorney.
And I'm Tess Brigham. I'm the therapist.
And today we are talking about the Netflix documentary Trainwreck, the Astroworld tragedy. And this is about Travis Scott's Astroworld festival that was held in November of 2021 that had an extremely tragic outcome. 10 people ended up losing their lives that day. Countless others, thousands of people injured. This really is a tragic and upsetting story, and really infuriates me all the way through.
Yeah. So high level, I didn't know much about this. I didn't even know that much about Travis Scott. I'll be perfectly honest with you. If he did not date Kylie Jenner, I don't think that I don't think that I would have even known who he was at all. So I did not know his music. I could not pick out one song. I didn't know anything about him and, like this history that he has at concerts and the kinds of concerts that he has. And then the other thing too is, when you think about these things like safety and flow of, how do you build an amusement park? And, there's so many details that go into these kinds of events that I think we don't really think about, but they are those invisible things that if they all go right, you would never know that they were there. It's only when things go wrong that you realize there's a mistake. And so that was really surprising. I think the whole thing is awful and tragic. And I also think that it felt like it was a little bit of a perfect storm, a bit of this combination of COVID and people wanting COVID to be over and wanting to get out and do all this stuff. And then, this is the kind of show where we can all go and get hyped up and do all this stuff that combined with poor planning. Yeah.
Well, also, these huge festivals like Astroworld or Coachella or, what's the Outside Lands or, any of these are new phenomenons. When we were growing up, the biggest thing would be like they'd have a day on the green, which would be at, Mountain View Amphitheater, and it would be all day with a bunch of bands. I mean, these festivals, they're dangerous if not handled properly for all kinds of different reasons, because it's so many people and there for such a long time, and everybody crowded in together. And it just feels very different from, the types of concerts that young people went to and older people, whatever. Because anyway, the young people who were going to this concert, they were pent up because this is 2021. We've been in COVID. There were no festivals or concerts. This is one of the first ones to come back. This one is a huge one. Not a lot. They were talking about how not a lot of festivals, stuff like this, come to Houston. Travis Scott is from Houston, and so therefore this is why he does this here. It's taking place on a abandoned amusement park grounds, and part of that infrastructure is already there. The big, I don't know what you want to call it. It almost looks like a mountain. It used to be part of a ride or something where he comes out of, and so they have like all the I don't think they're the original rides, but they have a bunch of like carnival type rides there.
And there was once an Astroworld that had been shut down in 2003 or something. I don't know, 2005. It was part of Six Flags. And I guess, so that was also part of it too. Like everyone.
Part of his childhood. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was something too, because I don't spend a lot of time, and I don't spend any time in Houston. And I didn't know that he was a big deal there. And I didn't even know about this Astroworld. So you can see when you hear all of this backstory, you're like, oh, I get it. I get why people were feeling the way they were feeling. Yeah, how exciting it was.
People are very, very hyped up already. And then to add to that, Travis Scott has a history of getting his fans really hyped up. And they showed some examples, like, for instance, there was one concert where some guy in the audience like took his shoe and he ordered the fans to beat the guy up.
Yeah, this was Switzerland, 2015.
He was like encouraging this young woman to jump from a balcony seat, down to the next level. And he was actually arrested after he told fans to storm the stage at Lollapalooza. And so just in general, crowd management, there were the crowd management issues at the other festivals and a lot of his appearances. And he's kind of known for that. And he, what did he tell? He has this kind of chant that he tells the crowd to rage. He's like, I want you to rage. I want you to rage. And, it's, I don't know, mosh pit is not even the right word for what's happening because you can barely move. A mosh pit, you can move around. People get picked up and moved. No, these people are just like squished together like sardines in a can. And so it's very, very dangerous.
Yes.
And so I'm surprised that it took this long for something really tragic to happen at one of his concerts. So in the beginning of the film, we're seeing some of the young people who are getting ready to go to the festival. They're all very excited. And this is something that always amazes me, is like in the beginning of a documentary, you can tell obviously this person plays a big role in it because they're talking all about, the lead up. And a lot of these people end up being, the friends and family of the victims.
Yeah.
And they go from almost taking themselves back into that moment and being so excited, and they're smiling and thinking about how excited they were. And then in the next scene or a couple scenes, down the road, they're talking about how their loved one died. And so, like, going from that place to that place, it's always interesting to me how people can do that.
Well, and I think that's why some people don't participate in these documentaries, because I think it is probably very emotionally draining to have to go back and relive everything and put themselves back in that place. I felt panic. I mean, I don't know about you, but I
felt such anxiety the whole time.
Such claustrophobia. And so for some of them to then put themselves back in that place and relive it is, it's a lot, I can imagine.
Yeah. So they set it up by introducing us to these people who go to the concert. There's a woman who's a photographer, Kirby, who now to back up a little bit. So this concert's being put on by Live Nation.
Mm-hmm.
Live Nation is the largest concert promoter in the world.
Yes.
And they control not just the concerts, they control the artist management, they control these festivals, they control the ticketing. I mean, they're everything.
Yes.
They're you cannot do this without Live Nation. So like this photographer, she's talking about how to get a gig for a Live Nation event is a really big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's putting her life in jeopardy. Like she's going out into the crowds and she's to get the best photos.
Yeah.
If your photo gets picked, then you get invited to the next thing and the next thing. So there's a lot of people and moving parts, and that introduce us to, these different journalists who cover him, and the security guards, couple of the security guards.
Yeah, father and son security guard team.
Yeah, and so they were told, the only instructions that these security guards said that they had was from other workers. And basically they said, be ready for them to rush the gates. Because people are going to rush, because apparently this is another thing that happens routinely. People who don't have tickets, they rush the gates. They just kind of storm through the metal detectors. And there are so many people and so few security and law enforcement that most of them get through.
Yeah.
And they don't even know how many people even get through.
Well, you could see that this was not organized well when this guy, their last name is Bush, the two security officers. That's the younger, that's the son, who is very anxious to get this gig because he's like, listen, I got 5 kids. So I want this gig. And he was communicating with them at 1:00 in the morning. And he had to report there the next day, that day at like 5:30.
So there's no training.
There's no training. They never even, so this is the part that's kind of surprising is you would think that this would be some rinky-dink thing that they would not think this through, but you're Live Nation. You don't have a protocol for each concert of, we're going to sell this many tickets. And then if we sell this many tickets, this is the number of security officers that we need. And with these kinds of concerts, we need more security. And with these kinds of, right? Like, there was this was not their first concert. This wasn't even the first Astroworld. So there was a little bit of like, what is was it COVID? Did everyone just lose their minds and everyone forgot how to do their jobs? But there was zero checklist. Like that was the part that you're hiring security
the night before?
5 hours before this concert. Like you didn't think this through?
Well, yeah, and we meet this guy, Scott Davidson, who's a crowd safety expert, and he's
my favorite.
At the end, he breaks this down, like what went wrong. But, after the Astroworld tragedy, he was asked to work for Live Nation and consult with them. But he's like, this is not the time to ask. You should ask before, ideally.
Yes.
And so it comes out later that Astroworld, or Live Nation sold 50,000 tickets for Astroworld before they even knew what the capacity of this venue was. Turns out that after they laid out the venue, figured out where the stages were, how many people could fit here and whatever, turns out the capacity for the Travis Scott stage area, which was where this happened, because he had his own stage that was, I guess, empty all day. So it's not like there were people there lining up or getting in place until right at the very end where everyone was flooded in, which was the problem. But the capacity was only like 35,000. Plus you had all those people who stormed through the gates and never had a ticket. So let's say there's another 5,000 or maybe more of those people. So now you're like way over capacity.
Yeah.
Already.
Well, I also think, and I don't know if this is something I would assume anyone in event planning must take into consideration. There's always a certain percentage of people that don't show up. There's always a certain percentage of like that, you plan a party and 30% won't come. So I also wonder if they didn't think through a little bit of oh, is everyone going to come? Like usually about 20, 30% of people don't come. But I got the sense that like everybody who got a ticket to this was coming. They were going to show.
They're dying to get out.
They're dying to get out. They were going to show up. So I think that hurt them tremendously too. I mean, I'll give Live Nation that. Like you didn't quite know how things would be afterwards, but.
Yeah, but to be 15,000
I know, I'm not
off. Yeah.
That's bad. I know. I'm with you.
Yeah,
and the storming of the gates, like if you knew people were going to storm the gates before and you knew that led more people in, you didn't fix this? You didn't find a different way of doing it?
And they had law enforcement on the ground. And the law enforcement were trying to arrest the people who were storming the gates. But the law enforcement was there for law enforcement only. They had lost all control of all entry points because there were there weren't enough of them.
Yeah.
And also they aren't there for crowd control.
Yeah.
You know, the crowd control started way back when you sold too many tickets. And then it continues when they did a bad design of how you let people in and where the kind of the barriers were and where the lanes that were supposed to remain clear. They had this weird kind of T-shaped thing. It was a terrible design. It was just an accident waiting to happen. Unfortunately.
Yeah, they do these graphics that I thought were very helpful. And again, I think that if you are not somebody who thinks about these things, just when I saw it on screen, I was like, oh, that makes complete sense. Now I see exactly how this happened. But you know, I think that if you look at this and you go, oh, okay, so everyone's just going to move over to this other stage, right? This is why you need people like the Scott Davidson, you know, or people that understand how events work or how crowds work or how things move, crowds move, what happens and all of that, because the Travis Scott stage is, I mean, I want to say when you're looking at the visual, it's like on the left-hand side is the stage for everybody else. And then one stage for Travis Scott. And, you know, usually with festivals, if there's a stage, there's usually people that might camp out a little bit and people are slowly coming in. And so just the act of slowly coming in individually really does
space.
It creates space. It's so interesting. I didn't even think about that. Like, yeah, because we automatically, when we're in that mindset, we can find space. We don't try to crowd into someone else's space. And, so one thing was that there were these two, there's a T-shaped stage and there's like a T in the middle where there's these lanes. And what happened was that because everyone was coming from the left-hand side, everyone entered into the left-hand section, and far fewer people went around. Like the people who took the long way around actually were safer.
Yeah.
They were fine.
All the deaths took place in a very small section of that left-hand side that was the most crowded section.
Yeah. And so once you see the graphic and the visual, you're like, oh, this makes complete sense about how that happened.
Yeah.
But again, it's pretty shocking that not one person from Live Nation stood there and said, okay, so let's picture what's going to happen when everyone comes over.
Yeah.
From
they have
the
everyone
first show.
They have everyone coming in one entrance. So on the left-hand side. So naturally, everyone's going to gravitate towards that left-hand place.
Yeah, so the closest.
Some people say, oh, I'll go around, go to the other side. But everyone's so hyped up and just wants to get to the stage that they're not thinking. So you've got the left-hand side is just overly packed with people. And not because the interesting thing, we find out that the people on the right-hand side had no idea when the concert started what was going on the left-hand side. And they're all having a great time.
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody over there is getting crushed or falling or anything. Everything over there is normal. And then everything on the left-hand side is like a nightmare. And people are, going down. So they're packed in so tight already. And then when the music starts and he comes out, everyone kind of instinctively moves forward. So all the bodies move forward and get closer, even closer to each other. And then you've got these waves that go forward and back and forward and back. And it's almost like people get lifted up. Their feet aren't even touching the ground anymore. And at the end of the concert, they show the empty grounds, and there were just like hundreds of shoes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
People lost their shoes, people lost clothes, but like tons of shoes.
Yeah.
People were literally lifted out of their shoes, had no control over their bodies, and were being squeezed and couldn't breathe.
Mm-hmm. One other thing I thought might have contributed to this, because I don't know if I've been to other concerts like this where there's a clock on stage. In some ways, not having a clock, not quite knowing, like, are they going to start at 8 or 8:15 or 8:30, right? In some ways, because I think what happened was that because people saw the clock, they knew exactly when this was going to start. So I think that naturally people would have gone to the bathroom. They would have gone into the Birch line. They would have gone over here. They would have been like, oh, it's not going to start. We got time. And so that also created that, because now you have something you're all looking towards, right? So no one wanted to leave their spot.
Yeah, but this was so crowded. I don't think you could have left. You couldn't leave if you wanted to. I mean, people were trapped. Yeah. They were trapped like up against these barriers. And then once the concert started and people couldn't breathe, they were like fighting to get over the others, because all like the security and the EMTs and whoever, they're in this like middle zone. And so they're fighting to get over the barrier into this middle zone just to get out of the crowd and get some help. And they talked to this one guy who's the EMT, who he thought this was going to be an easy gig.
Yeah, he was psyched.
Yeah. Usually he's like, yeah, if you have to show up to a car crash or something, like that's bad. But like this, what's going to happen? And then we find out too that he's out there. And when people start having because people are being crushed to death, people are passing out. Some people are even having cardiac incidents.
Yes.
They need serious medical help. People are just being squeezed to death. And like he was trying to do compressions on people to get them to start breathing. He didn't have a defibrillator. He didn't have didn't even have the equipment on him to even care for these people.
Yeah. I mean, he's like in the middle of this in between. He didn't even know how bad it was until he got back to the tent, because he was so focused on, I got to save this person. Oh, okay. Now I got to say, right. Like that sort of completely zoned in, place. I had a thought, but it just left me. The other thing that surprised me was, and I guess in my mind, I would have never even thought this, but people started calling 911.
Yeah.
Because I was like, yeah, everyone has their phones. And so people started calling 911 and calling and calling and calling. And so, there's a whole segment in this where there's a little bit of like, why then wasn't the show stopped? Because he did perform the entire set. He did. Like he started at 9:00 and he ended at like 10:15, 10:30. So Travis Scott himself saw some things. At 9:42, he stopped the show because he's noticed someone has passed out. And apparently people were screaming like, stop the show, stop the show. He didn't hear any of that. So they did it like that one woman, the nurse, she talked about that. And she talked about how, he stops the show and you thought that you were going to get some kind of relief or something was going to be done. And then the show starts again. Yeah. And that feeling of like, oh my God, like, because he was
looking at the right side of the stage.
Yes.
He was turned to the right side. So he saw someone pass out over there, not knowing that behind him, if he just turned around, there's multiple people on the other side passed out, crushed. Yeah. And so what started happening was, with the people getting crushed together, people then started falling backwards, and they're falling on each other.
Yes.
So the people at the bottom, I mean, imagine you're at the bottom and there's like a layer of, 2 or 3 more people on top of you. And so one of the young people they followed, this guy, Aiden, he's actually one who escaped and actually went up onto the stage and was trying to tell people to stop. He and this other woman managed to make their way onto the stage, and he was trying to get the attention of the cameraman, saying, "Stop the stage! People are dying!" And da 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 da. And this cameraman is just kind of waving him off, like, "Get away from me!" And nobody notices. I don't know why weren't there. There didn't seem to be security people up. You know how usually there's security all around the front of the stage. There's nobody there. No one to get anyone's attention or to report anything to. And these two kids are yelling, "Stop the concert, stop the concert. People are dying. People are dying." And so he made it out of that. But then his friend, Bree, who he came to the concert with, she's one of the ones who didn't make it.
Yeah. Because everybody, we meet these friends. There's these 4 guys from Laredo, Texas, I think, that all decided to go on this boys trip together. And they say the same thing. When everyone started moving in to watch the show, it was they all lost each other. So that's the other part of it too, was that people got separated. They couldn't help each other because they didn't even know where the other person was. And I really do feel, and these are young kids, and I just feel for them because you sense a lot of guilt. A lot of guilt that they feel, and it's not their fault. But they feel such guilt because why am I here and not other people? And also, why couldn't I have helped my friends? We were there together, kind of thing. And that's hard.
Yeah.
Psych Legal Pop will be back after these messages.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
So it was like 9:31 when Aiden and this other woman got up, climbed up on the stage and were trying to get someone's attention. Nothing happens. The show never stops. And then, the woman who she had just gotten her nursing degree or her nursing license, and she was crushed herself. Like she didn't think she was going to make it out. She was in a pile of people. Somehow she got out, and then somehow she was able to save the life of this guy who I don't know his name. I call him the merch guy because he got in early, stood in the merch line for 4 hours.
In the sun
to get 2 bags of merch that he was going to hold on to for dear life. And he went in early to try to, I think, get close to the stage or whatever. He had some kind of cardiac arrest or some sort of event. He was dying and she saved his life.
Yeah, he would have died because I think that she knew to lift his legs up. Like she just knew what to do in that moment. I wouldn't have known to do that.
He had a heart attack. Okay, so now it's 9:42. Travis Scott is still playing. And this is when he finally notices that someone has passed out on the other side, briefly stops, then goes back to performing. And then the expert comes in and he talks about how there was no show stop process. And only 2 people from Live Nation had the authority to stop the show, and no one could find them.
Yeah. Which I guess is a big no-no. Like, I guess apparently you need to have some sort of process in place, like a plan. Like, what do we do if we stop the show? And how do we communicate with those people? And that seemed really bizarre that there's only 2 people that, I guess I understand you can't let everybody have the power to stop the show because people will be stopping the show. But only 2 people did. And again, you can see that there's a lot of fear around, we'll learn about this. Like there's a lot of fear around pushing back on Live Nation.
Yeah.
The photographer doesn't want to, like, nobody wants to push back.
Yeah, because they control everything. They control this entire industry. So now we're at 9:51, and finally the manager for Live Nation talks to an audio engineer telling him we have 4 active CPRs, 2 most likely are not going to make it. It's very bad. There's more victims than I've ever seen. It says we need to tell Travis Scott and we need to shut the show down. And this is at 10 o'clock. So the audio engineer has this information. We never do find out if this information was transmitted to Travis Scott. He later denies it when he does his apology video, which came very late.
Yeah.
He denies it, says he has no idea. Now, okay, well, then the Live Nation and the police have a discussion, and they decide to give the concert more time because guess what? Drake's coming out.
Yes, yes.
We can't stop now.
Drake is there.
Drake is out there.
Yes, yes. So that was, there's a lot.
And people are dying.
I mean, and there's a lot of this weirdness around even the first one at 9:51, from what I understood, when the someone from Live Nation is trying to tell this audio engineer what's going on. I thought one of the messages was, we need to shut this down at 10 p.m., like 9 minutes from now.
Right.
And so I was trying to understand, like, is there a reason why you just don't shut it down all together? You know, why? I still
needed Drake to come out.
I guess so. But so are these Live Nation people so inhumane that they just don't even care? Or are they so afraid of what would happen to them if they stopped the show and Drake didn't get to come out? Or that's the part I don't understand.
I think they're both one and the same. I think that they are so driven by money, and they can't have the perception that there's anything wrong. And I think they thought, well, there's nothing we can do about this. I don't know what they thought. I can't even speculate as to what they thought or it's just, it's so callous.
Yeah.
You would think that the minute that someone from Live Nation heard, someone in the crowd died.
Yeah.
But, I guess, I have to say I would venture to guess that one death at a concert that size is probably not that big of a deal. I would venture to guess that someone dies at least one person dies at every kind of big festival like that. Not from being crushed, but just from, for some other reason. Just
heat or drugs.
Statistically, if you get that many people together under those kind of circumstances, you're probably going to have a death. So, okay, someone in the crowd dying because of some cardiac event or something is probably maybe not reason to stop the show, but people being crushed because of the crowd and the everything, that is a reason. And we don't really know what they know, and we never will, because there were never any criminal charges brought.
Yes.
All the civil suits against them have been settled mostly. So I don't know. It's unbelievable that it's insane that multiple deaths are in progress. And, then we have to wait for Drake to come out and finish. And then at 10:13, mercifully, the concert finally ends.
Yeah.
And we don't know was Travis Scott oblivious this whole time? We don't know.
I don't. And who knows? The other part of it is, and we were chatting about this before we started, which is a question that I was asking myself the whole time, which is, what is Travis Scott's responsibility? Right. So he has this reputation of hyping people up. Is it the responsibility of Live Nation and the concert promoters to be extra careful? Because it sounds like, okay, for these kinds of shows, you might need more people or more processes or more things in place. Whose responsibility of that? Because it was Travis Scott's Astroworld. You are putting your name in the front of it. So what's your responsibility in this of yes, that's not your job. You're the artist, and I'm with you on that. But I was very surprised to see how he really kind of distanced himself. Like he wasn't willing to take any level of like, yeah, my name was on that and it was tragic. And I have to, because seeing this now, I realize that I put my name on it. This is my event. So like you are, again, you are the one promoting this. This is you got all these people together. You're doing all this that, you didn't have anybody on your team that was thinking through anything. You just kind of blindly trusted Live Nation.
Well, and especially when he'd had prior incidents. He had been arrested for inciting this type of behavior before.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I definitely think he has a responsibility. Absolutely. I mean, people are there to see you, and you should not be inciting violence, which is what he was doing. And when he told the people, beat this guy up because he took my shoe, that's inciting violence. That's a crime. I mean, it's irresponsible. He's completely in the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's maybe not just as liable as Live Nation, but close.
Yeah. I guess I thought he would have been a little bit more contrite or a little bit more apologetic, or, because again, you're saying, I'm from Houston. This is my event. Astroworld means something to me. It's the name of one of my albums. I created this event. Everybody's been cooped up. I'm going to do this. And you slap your name on it and then sort of walk away from everything else. It's like, well, then if you don't want that kind of responsibility, then don't create festivals.
Yeah. Well, and so the next day he makes this cheap cell phone video.
Yeah, that was bad.
Where he's sending prayers. Yeah, he's sending prayers, to the victims. He claims that he didn't know what was going on, at all the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't really know, but anyway, it looked really, really bad. And so by this time, then Live Nation came in and they told the photographer lady, and I'm sure they told everybody, don't talk to the media, don't post about this. Obviously, they canceled the rest of the thing because now it's an active crime scene.
Yeah,
and that's when you see all the shoes, all the clothes. People just came up out of their shoes. And so on that day, 8 people died.
Yeah.
And then Travis makes his cheesy, video the next day. And then after that, 2 more people die. Someone dies the day after. And then the last person to die was a child.
Yeah, 9 years old.
Who was there with, his parents. And I remember when this happened, the emphasis was a lot of people died because, if you're in a crowd like that and you fall, forget it. You're dead.
Yeah, you're going to be trampled.
But you're going to be trampled. And it was so sad because it was this man who had brought his 2 kids. And I think one of them was on his shoulders and the other one. And one of the kids, got trampled. It's just awful. And, it was but they talk about how he wanted this mob mentality, this chaos, and he's telling people to rage. He's encouraging this.
Mm-hmm.
And so then Nike suspends something that they were going to release with him. He was disinvited from Coachella.
Yes. Another narrative starts coming out about that it wasn't that people were crushed. There was a bad batch of drugs, that there was a madman with syringes.
Right.
One madman who was able to navigate this crowd and was injecting people. And that's what happened. And it did make me really wonder about who started this narrative? Because that definitely gives Live Nation, right? It allows Live Nation to take no responsibility if it was a madman who was killing all these people going around.
Well, okay. So how did the madman get to the dead people on the ground underneath, crushed underneath it? That was really some magical thinking.
And then I'm very curious about how people feel about Travis Scott today, because there was a lot of backlash against him. And some of the people that they interviewed were very angry.
Mhm.
Like, he was my superhero. I really loved him. I believed in him. And now it's not the same. I'm curious about, like, I assume he's still doing well. Life is good. But I do wonder about, like, you know, how this has affected him. Because one thing I did notice with him was that he did this video, and then we see this interview with him and Charlemagne later on. But I don't know. Did he do anything else? Like, we've never heard him talk about this. We've never, like, he just kind of was like, okay, I'm not going to talk about this anymore. Like, he kind of tail between his legs.
Well,
you know?
I think he just tried to throw it back on Live Nation, because in that interview with Charlemagne, he claims he heard nothing. He was never told to stop. Not my problem. Didn't seem to care. Did not seem to be at all remorseful. You know, I mean, let's see.
He's saying no one told me to stop now. And so, I mean, that's the question. If you're going to if you are hosting this event, is it your responsibility to ask certain questions? And it did not sound like he asked, or his people asked, the right questions.
Well, so I just pulled this up real quick. So it says that he recently released his album Utopia in 2023, which topped the Billboard's 200. He completed a tour which generated over $210 million, making it the highest selling solo rap concert tour of all time.
Until now, at that time. Because I think
this is 2023.
Yeah, I know. And now, but that got broken by Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, okay.
And says, FYI, people.
Okay. My point is,
yes, at the time it was.
He's not hurting.
Yes.
He's not hurting. He continues to collaborate with major brands such as Nike, active on social media, Astroworld Tragedy, So, I don't know. And I don't understand. I have to say, I love rap music. Travis Scott's music is not good.
Yeah, I don't get it either. Am I like not hearing the right things? Because, I mean, I love Kendrick Lamar. I love Snoop. I mean, people are mad at Snoop Dogg these days because of his affiliation. But, I mean, hello, like, we grew up on all this stuff.
Yes, so I love Run DMC and NWA and, the classics. I love rap music. I don't understand. His music is just all auto-tuned.
Yeah.
And don't really care for it.
And it's that because when he stops the show, he's still speaking in that weird microphone.
Yeah. His auto-tune microphone.
That auto-tune, like, And so is he really talented, or is he more of a showman? Because, my God, he moves like I could not do that for an hour and a half. What he was doing, he was jumping around. Like, he definitely commands attention. He commands an audience. Like, when you watch him, he is a good performer. But I don't get the music at all. I really don't.
I don't.
But I did write down what Scott, or this was on. I can't remember if this is what Scott said, but I felt like it summed everything up perfectly. What's Scott's last name? Sorry, Scott Davidson. He said, Astroworld is not an accident. It was an inevitability due to the lack of foresight and abandonment of basic safety protocols. And I think that was a great way of saying it, which is, this is not an accident. That calling it this tragic accident is very insulting. When it'd be one thing if you had all these safety protocols and came into place, and still there was these things happen. That's a different story. It just sounds like it was so poorly planned, but really also poorly planned.
Scott also said that a theme that ran throughout this whole thing was a failure to speak truth to power, because there's this hierarchy, and only certain people can do anything. Only certain, one person has control over, whether 1-2 people have control over whether the concert can be stopped. There's a lot of money on the line. This is greed. This is corporate greed. I mean, because let's go back to even before the concert started. Why did Live Nation not hire Scott in the beginning?
Yes.
This is the first Astroworld in a couple years because of COVID. If it's a big event, people are hyped up. This is a guy who has a history of people getting hyped, and you should have known that you should have brought someone in to make sure, okay, how can we make sure that, we're not overdoing, over capacity. We have a good plan that, everyone's excited. Let's just sell a bunch of tickets.
You look at something like the Fry Festival and you can kind of understand that. You can see like, this guy is not an event planner. He decides to put this event together and he screws the whole thing up. That you can believe. This is you guys are doing concerts all the time, of all different sizes, all over the world. And,
Beyonce, I'm sure every big concert is a Live Nation production.
Yeah. It's corporate greed. It's corporate greed of not selling too many tickets. Selling too many tickets is a huge one. Not being fully staffed. All of it. I mean, it did feel like, when you look at the fact, it's like, God, this must have been just a huge money. It felt a little bit like a money grab. Those festivals are, but, yeah.
And they were, some texts were uncovered actually, between the management team who had doubts about the 50,000 people and so a lot of people had doubts, but ultimately the buck stops with Live Nation.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Well, I have this note here that says that Live Nation knew before Travis came onto the stage that people were being crushed.
Yeah.
So that's the issue is you still kept the clock up. You did not want to pause and figure this out or like fix it at all. Because the thing is, they could have, if they knew people were being crushed, they could have stopped everything and just said, okay, let's
redistribute people.
Yeah, let's redistribute. Let's move things around. Let's get the help that people need. And then he can come on an hour later.
Yeah.
Is that the end of the world? Or, but that whole thing, I really do, that whole truth to power, everybody's scared. And I also wonder if the two executives that had the power to stop it, if they were scared.
Yeah.
Like they might have had the power to stop it, but maybe they got this thing of like, oh, so-and-so over here stopped a concert once and they don't have their executive job anymore.
Right. Because there's people above them, they're just the highest people who are there on site, I guess.
And it's also the end of 2021, the economy, like things have been hard. People don't want, especially if you're an executive, people are scared to lose their jobs. I mean, that's the other part of it too. So yeah, Live Nation, very much so. But in 2023, a grand jury found no individual was criminally responsible for what happened.
No criminal responsibility for anyone, any corporation, no one. Yeah. And then 2024, Travis Scott broke records with highest selling solo rap concert tour of all time. Like we said, generating over 210 million, produced by Live Nation. Live Nation response was they blamed it on SMG Global, who set the capacity, and it was approved by the Houston Fire Department. Festival Safety and Risk Director of the Houston Police Department agreed to and executed an early show stop. So it wasn't even Live Nation that it was like the police and fire people had to step in, and they don't care. They're not going to lose their jobs over this.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one at Live Nation was going to pull the plug, apparently. So 49 lawsuits were filed.
Wow.
It was I think it was like a joint $750 million lawsuit. I think that all the victims were represented by attorney Benjamin Crump, who was the attorney for Trayvon Martin's family, George Floyd's family. He's a very high profile attorney. And so they ended up settling. They settled all of the wrongful death lawsuits. But the people who died, we don't know the terms, it's all confidential. There were 2,400 personal injury lawsuits pending originally. And what they were going to do is they were going to do something called a bellwether trial to test the strength of some of these cases to see if they should settle or not.
Mm-hmm.
But then the bellwether cases, some were settled, some were rescheduled, but many others have settled. They'll probably all end up settling, and we'll never know.
Yeah.
And, we don't know the terms of all this, but Live Nation has reportedly spent $280 million in litigation. And I think that's just for the paying lawyers. I don't even think that doesn't even include the payouts, the settlements. So, but you know what? To them,
this is nothing.
It's a drop in the bucket.
This is nothing.
And 10 people are dead.
Yeah.
Young people.
It's really heartbreaking. We meet Rudy, who's one of the people that died. We meet his mother and sister. Mm-hmm. That's heartbreaking. Utterly heartbreaking. That mother is going to her son's grave every day and basically saying, this is the pain. This is my life now. And you're just like, yeah.
No, this is up there with every parent's worst nightmare. Yeah. Like, again, because, my daughter goes to a lot of these concerts. Not like, she goes to Coachella and a lot of these festivals and stuff like that. And it does. It's worrisome.
Mm-hmm. It is.
It's one more thing to worry about.
Yes. And, yeah. What's really so tragic about it is when you think about all those people that were walking over to the other stage, like even if you're walking over and you're thinking, God, there's a lot of people, or I don't know if I like this or whatever, it's almost a little bit like how do you then get out of it? Like, even if you have a moment of panic or, wait, this is too much, you can't leave. Yeah. You can't.
I would never in a million years go get that close to the stage, go into that. Even if the crowd was more reasonable and smaller, absolutely not. I mean, that just gives me the heebie-jeebies, gives me anxiety. I'm always the one hanging out. Well, and also I don't like festivals. I want to be in a seat. I want to have a seat. I want order. I want people spaced out. The capacity is clear. This is where your seat is.
Yeah.
The good old fashioned stadium seating. I don't care for festivals. They kind of freak me out a little bit.
Yeah, I don't like being just the mosh pit and being squeezed in a small space. That really, I don't like that. I've never really liked the mosh pit. The other thing too is if you go really close to the stage, it's freaking loud. You have to then have certain ear plugs in because it's not even tolerable to be that close to the stage. God, we're old.
We are old. That sounds very old.
But I think even in my youth, I don't know if I ever wanted, I never wanted to be in a mosh pit then either. So, yeah. But again, this is, you should not be trampled. You should, obviously there've been many, many shows with many, many mosh pits. And these kinds of tragedies haven't happened.
Nirvana, Red Hot Chili Peppers, all those concerts, the Foo Fighters, whatever, those are mosh pits. I would not even describe this as a mosh pit.
No.
In a mosh pit, you're supposed to be able to move. People move freely. They bump into each other. They move back. They move here. They move there. You can pick someone up and they can travel around and come back down. There's space, even in a mosh pit.
Yes.
This is just crush. This is just people. This is a human crush.
Yeah.
It's not normal.
Yeah.
Okay, well, two old ladies.
Yes.
Analyzing Astroworld. Hope you enjoyed.
Well, what you going to do?
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. If you like our podcast and you'd like to support support us, please subscribe. You can also leave us a 5-star review. We do documentaries here on Thursdays, like Astroworld. Right now we're covering, and just like that, old lady show.
That we're complaining about that too.
We're complaining
even old lady stuff we don't even like.
Right. Those episodes come out on Monday. And if you want more of us, we do have a Patreon. We are on YouTube also. I don't know if you're watching on YouTube. If you are, hello. But you can watch us on YouTube. You can look at our Patreon, see what we have to offer. We do a weekly bonus for Patreon members, and you get all the free shows ad-free. And for our higher tier, we have a special once a month Ask Us Anything and once a month bonus true crime episode. We are also on all the social medias, Psych Legal Pop. You can find us there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
This season on The Dream.
Supplies are being provided by nurses who run out in the middle of the night and purchase diapers, but the hospital is still charging as if they still have these items.
We are digging into every topic we've ever wanted to cover on this show.
It's a spinning plate analogy. The second that you stop spinning those plates, that crashes. So you can never stop working.
The Dream Season 4 comes at you weekly starting Monday, January 20th.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.